Born October 20th, 1964, Kamala Harris is an American politician and lawyer who has served as a junior United States Senator from California since 2017. She is the Democratic vice presidential nominee for the 2020 election. Born in Oakland, California, Harris graduated from Howard University and the University of California, Hastings College of the Law. She began her career in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office before being recruited to the San Francisco District Attorney's Office and later the City Attorney of San Francisco's office. In 2003, she was elected District Attorney of San Francisco. She was elected Attorney General of California in 2010 and re-elected in 2014. Harris was born in Oakland, California. Her mother, Shyamala Gopalan, a biologist whose work on the progesterone receptor gene stimulated work in breast cancer research, had arrived in the US from India in 1959 as a graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. She received a PhD in endocrinology in 1964. Her father, Donald J. Harris, is a Stanford University professor of economics who arrived in the US from British Jamaica in 1961 for graduate study at Berkeley and received a PhD in economics in 1966. Along with her younger sister, Maya, Harris lived in Berkeley, California, until she was 12 years old. Harris lived briefly on Milvia Street in central Berkeley. Then her family moved to the upper floor of Duplex on Bancroft Way in West Berkeley, an area often called the Flatlands, with a significant black population. Harris's formative surroundings were made up of African American intellectuals and rights advocates. Mary Lewis, who taught at San Francisco State University for many years and co-founded the field of African American studies, also one of her mother's most trusted friends. When her mother worked late at her lab, Kamala was cared for by Regina Shelton, a black woman who had a daycare center in the apartment below. Although the two Harris sisters spent summers with their father in Palo Alto and would sometimes accompany him to Jamaica, their experience and relationship with blackness, according to Maya Harris's daughter, Mina Harris, is through being raised in these communities in Berkeley and Oakland, and not through the lens of being in the Caribbean. When Harris began kindergarten, she was part of Berkeley's comprehensive desegregation program to Thousand Oaks Elementary School. A public school in a more prosperous neighborhood in northern Berkeley had previously been 95% white, and after the desegregation plan, it became 40% black. Harris grew up going to both a black church and a Hindu temple. She and her sister visited their mother's family in Madras, now Chennai, on the southeastern coast of India several times, the last time in 2009 when Harris returned with her mother's ashes and scattered them in the Indian Ocean waters. She says she was strongly influenced by her maternal grandfather, P.V. Gopalan, a retired Indian civil servant whose progressive views on democracy and women's rights impressed her. After high school, Harris attended Howard University, a historically black university in Washington, D.C. While at Howard, she interned as a mailroom clerk for California Senator Alan Cranston, chaired the Economic Society, led the debate team and joined Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Harris graduated from Howard in 1986 with a degree in political science and economics. Harris then returned to California to attend law school at the University of California, Hastings College of Law. While at UC Hastings, she served as president of its chapter of the Black Law Students Association. She graduated with a Juris Doctor in 1989 and was admitted to the California Bar in June 1990. Kamala Harris has earned the reputation of a rising star in the Democratic Party, most recently becoming former vice president of Joe Biden's running mate in the presidential election. But Harris has also faced questions over her record on criminal justice issues, a record that's led some critics to describe her as not a progressive reformer, but as a relic of a tough-on-crime era going back to the 1990s and 2000s. If you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Now back to the video. Harris, who made history as a presumptive Democratic presidential candidate, Joe Biden's pick for vice president, has long faced criticism over her prosecutorial record, with skeptics saying she skewed in favor of police and was too slow to even sometimes mum on the criminal justice reform. As California's Attorney General from 2011 to 2017, she refused to endorse a 2015 bill calling for a special prosecutor to investigate deadly police shootings. She also rejected calls from civil rights groups to investigate fatal police shootings in Los Angeles and San Francisco as well, following the 2014 police-involved killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. During her bid for the presidential nomination, Harris portrayed herself as a progressive prosecutor who championed police accountability, but that's an imaginative recasting of her record. In the 13 years as a top cop, Harris wasn't a reformer, but a tough-on-crime prosecutor with close links to the police unions, and someone who stayed on the sidelines in police misconduct cases. In 2006, the California Supreme Court issued its Copley decision, which exacerbated the state's policing problems by shutting public access to disciplinary proceedings. The court relied on a 1978 decision finding no constitutional right to have access to particular government information or to require openness from the bureaucracy. The media and public no longer could learn about abusive officers. In 2018, the legislature finally passed a similar, albeit limited, version of that open records bill. The result has been enlightening, as newspapers gain access to long-hidden records about officers accused of abuses, and even those who patrol the streets but have criminal records themselves. Throughout that dozen-year process of opening files to public scrutiny, Harris's silence was deafening. Harris was Attorney General when the Orange County snitch scandal gained national attention. Prosecutors and deputies had misused jailhouse informants to gain confessions in violation of inmates' rights to an attorney. Harris sided with the district attorney's office as it opposed court efforts to remove the department from tainted cases. Her office's investigation went nowhere, and Harris recently said local officials should handle these matters. A close examination of Harris's record shows it's filled with contradictions. She pushed for programs that helped people find jobs instead of putting them in prison and fighting to keep people in jail even after they were proved innocent. She refused to pursue the death penalty against a man who killed a police officer and defended California's death penalty system in court. She implemented training programs to address police officers' racial biases, but also resisted calls to get her office to investigate inevitable police shootings. One of Harris's worst scandals came in 2010 when a technician was caught skimming cocaine from a crime lab and mishandled evidence. A judge ruled her office failed to disclose the information to defense attorneys, causing more than 600 drug-related cases to get tossed out. That same year, Harris opposed an initiative in the state to legalize marijuana, despite now supporting such legislation. In 2015, Harris required body cameras for the California Department of Justice agents, but didn't support legislation mandating them for all police officers. Shortly after taking the job, she sparked a decade-long feud with police unions for declining to pursue the death penalty for a gang member who murdered San Francisco police officer Isaac Espinosa. She also began prosecuting parents of habitually truant students, calling students skipping school tantamount to a crime. Even amid criticism that the policy disproportionately targeted low-income people of color, she sent letters to San Francisco public school parents each year, threatening them with citations for truancy, and sponsored a 2010 law to make it a misdemeanor for a parent whose children miss 10% of school a year without a good excuse. The punishment, a $2,000 fine, jail, or both. Harris also opposed a state initiative to soften minimum mandatory sentences. Even though the criminal justice reform plan she rolled out while running for president called for their end, During her time as Attorney General, at least 1,560 people were thrown behind bars for marijuana-related offences from 2011 to 2016, according to the data from the Washington Free Beacon. Harris's handling of wrongful convictions has also been called into question. As Attorney General, her office fought against new DNA testing for death row inmate Kevin Cooper, who claims he was framed for murder. Some legal experts believe the test could help overturn his conviction. Her prosecutors also defended the sentence of George Gage. He was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter and put away by her testimony. A judge later found that Harris's prosecutor failed to turn over evidence, including that the stepdaughter had repeatedly lied to law enforcement and that her mother described her as a pathological liar. The case got pitched to the 9th District Court of Appeals, with Harris's prosecutors fighting against tossing Gage's conviction on a technicality that he failed to raise the legal issue in a lower court. He's still in prison, serving a 70-year sentence. Harris fought tooth and nail to uphold wrongful convictions that had been secured through official misconduct that included evidence tampering, false testimony, and the suppression of crucial information by prosecutors. Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next one about another questionable politician.